So last night was a really, really big night for horror. We got 3 new huge titles that I was greatly looking forward to, as well as I think Kaylee was. We got to see Antlers last night in Soho in theaters. We had to drive all the way up to Flagstaff to see both of those back to back with like an hour gap between them. And then we drove straight home and we watched Paranormal Activity right after midnight as it dropped on Paramount Plus. And we were gonna record, and we looked at the fucking time. It was 2 a.m. and we both had to get up in the morning, and we were both so tired. I was like, "Fuck, I want to record," but we couldn't. You know, it is what it is. And we couldn't record until after work. So here we are, so many hours later, but we got to see all 3 of them. That's the most important part. And she doesn't even know what movie we're about to talk about because I am just going to do this in random order. We'll go backwards. We'll do Paranormal Activity, Next of Kin.
Next of Kin.
Next of Kin.
This time there's kin. And they're next.
What? Okay. So, in this movie, couple things I want to confirm that we were kind of questioning because the plot details were being kept extremely vague and the trailer was like 30 seconds long and didn't really show all that much. I can confirm that it's found footage. That being said, there are unexplainable shots in the movie where things are being shot over people's shoulders or next to them, and you're like, there's no cameras around. That happens very, very seldomly. Like, it probably accounts for a minute of the film at best.
Yes.
But there are unexplainable shots. So you just have to accept that those are found part of the footage that they've shot. But I mean, I feel like at this point it doesn't matter per se. It annoys me a little. Like, why didn't you come up with a way for it to be part of the cameras that you used? But it is there. So you'll see them. It's the ones that we're very aware of. We're at the very, very end in the last couple minutes. Secondly, this is definitely disconnected from the original 6 films. This has nothing to do with them at all. But it does feel Paranormal Activity to a degree. It does. It feels Paranormal Activity in the sense that it's found footage, and that it has to do with family, and that it deals with like demonic forces. Right. Yeah. That's where it feels it. The structure of it's a little different. We don't set up the cameras and do night 1, night 2 like that. That's not how this plays out. I will say, we're not like really quick at this point. We're probably 3-4 minutes in now. But as a big Paranormal Activity fan who really, really enjoys this franchise, somebody who loves part 3 and 5, the marked ones, which is probably my favorite of them. And the Ghost Dimension is the only one that I just like. I'm fine with it. I think it's okay. I think it's a fine watch, and I actually like it more every time I watch it. But it's fine, right?
Yeah.
And I love, I really enjoy 1, 2, and 4 as well. I know a lot of people don't like 4, so I am a big fan of this franchise. And you?
I am also a big fan.
Yeah. So I will say that I really enjoyed this. I think this is a good entry into this franchise, and it's also very much a standalone film. And when I say that, I mean that this has finality and conclusion to it. It doesn't feel like there's going to be a Next of Kin 2. Yeah. I don't see... it could, I guess. I mean, they could always make that work. Fucking look at the Planet of the Apes movies. They blew up the fucking planet in one of them. And then in the next one, they just did time travel, which made no sense at all. But they were like, we want to make another. So if you want to make it work, you can always make it work. But I just don't see this movie having a sequel. If they make another one, I just don't see it being connected to this. Yeah. But I like these kind of let's get away from Toby. let's get away from that. We did finish that off in Ghost Dimension. I think it's a good place to go off to a different demon. We're away from Toby now. Now we can start focusing and doing more of like an anthology of different demons that are being found by completely unrelated things. And then maybe have like a final movie where people are having these sightings of all these like demons that are taking over the world or whatever. I don't know. That might be a little too grand, but
that would be really cool though, like an anthology exploring different instances where demon, activity was happening.
Sure.
I think that would be awesome, and as a standalone, this works really well. So it'll be interesting to see if they make more that are supposed to be kind of disconnected from the originals.
It'll be dependent on how well this does.
Yes.
But okay. So as far as the story goes, our character, is it Jennifer? Or is that a different movie? We watched 3 of them last night. Was Jennifer the main girl here?
No.
That wasn't her? There was a Jennifer in something we watched.
Yeah, there was.
I can't remember what it is.
Maybe it was.
Doesn't matter. So there's this girl, and she goes and she has a 23andMe, and she connects with somebody because she was given up at birth, and she's trying to connect with any of her family, and she connects with somebody in an Amish community. And of course, they're trying to figure out how the hell this kid would even have a 23andMe. He's Amish, but he's on his Rumspringa. And he's able to go out into the real world for, I think about a year. I think is as long as Rumspringa lasts. And if you decide, you can decide if you want to come back or not. Like, do you want to live this life or not? But if you don't want to come back, they'll shun you.
Yeah.
Right? Which is, totally set up of like, you're going to come back. Otherwise, we're never speaking to you again.
Right.
But she connects with this person, and this person decides to take them home. And she has 2 people. One of the guys might be her boyfriend. We could never tell.
We couldn't really figure out. It sort of, they felt like they maybe had a romantic thing, but there was never any kissing or any, physical affection.
Right, so she takes this guy who may or may not be her boyfriend, and then they hire a boom mic operator / driver.
Yeah.
Who is the comedy relief of the movie. And I found him to be pretty funny. Yes. I always like one male character in this franchise as a funny guy.
Yeah.
Like there's always one male character that makes me laugh. Mm-hmm. Whether it's Mika or Daniel or, you just go through them. Hector, probably my favorite. I don't know. Freaking... why am I blanking on his name? Dennis. Mm-hmm. Dennis might be my favorite guy of this franchise. He makes me laugh. Probably Dennis, and then Hector. But then there's this guy in this. I honestly don't remember a single name of anybody in this movie, which is really weird. Yeah. But I will watch this movie again for sure in the future. Like when I go to put on the Paranormal Activity series, I will absolutely watch this as part of the series.
Yeah.
Like I like it in the series. I think it's a cool addition to this. The film, anyways. So they meet up with this Amish kid who they meet up with him in Scottsdale, Arizona. Yeah. So it's funny to hear that. And they decide to go to his Amish community and get to know her roots. And while they're there, they bring a camera crew, which is her maybe boyfriend, and then that guy, and they agree to let her film. And of course. And while she's there, she starts investigating why her mother left her. Because her mom used to live there in the Amish community. And so she's investigating that. And, of course, she starts to find out some weird things and find some crazy things. Mm-hmm. And there's some really freaky shit that's going on in this church. It kind of reminds me of Midsommar. There's a little bit of a Midsommar flair in here. And when I saw that Christopher Landon was coming back to write this, the guy who wrote part 2 through 5, he also directed part 5, marked ones, which is arguably my favorite. And 2 of my favorites he wrote. So, and then he did Happy Death Day 1 and 2, and he did Freaky, and Scout's Guide to the Zombie Apocalypse, and the guy's awesome. So when I saw he was writing it, I immediately had confidence that I would at least like this. Mm-hmm. He's not made anything I haven't liked. But then when I saw William Eubank was directing it, who directed last year's Underwater with Kristen Stewart, I was like, okay, this is going to be something that's a little different. And it is. We even get some I really like the trailer with those kids singing. There's some really cool shots in this that I liked, and they play around with some slow-mo in this. And while it doesn't make any sense because you actually have to be filming in slow-mo to be able to use slow-mo, you can't just have moments where there's slow-mo in a regular 24 frames a second footage. So that's another thing. It's kind of like the over-the-shoulder shots of where are these cameras? So it's just one of those things where you have to go, whatever. It's a cool shot.
Yes,
it works.
It did work.
Right.
And it was cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, did you have any... What were your issues with this? Did you have anything that
Definitely the camera stuff was an issue. It took me out of the movie when we noticed it, and it is whatever. It doesn't ruin the movie, but it definitely took me out of kind of what was happening, just because everything, at least that I remember up until that point, was filmed in a found footage style. So, and I think that when you expect it to be found footage and then you have a shot that isn't, unless it's supposed to be, I don't know. I think there's a way around it for sure.
Absolutely.
It could be a paranormal shot or something. I don't know, but so that would be my biggest issue with it, I would say. So it's really, and it's not even a huge issue, but I thought the story was really cool. I liked all the acting. I thought it was very very eerie, and the Midsommar feeling I definitely got as well.
Yeah.
So I really enjoyed that part of it. And yeah, I mean the ending was great. We were both just what the fuck at the end, and so there's some cool visuals for sure.
It reminded me of a sequel to another found footage movie that was not found footage. That's all I'm going to say about it. You'll see it for yourself, and if you can connect those dots, good for you. But very, very similar. But yeah, it's a cool film. Mm-hmm. I quite liked it as a found footage. I think, honestly, this is definitely what I think with this film. I think that if this was a random drop on Paramount Plus and Paranormal Activity was not attached to this and it was just called Next of Kin, I think people would be liking this more. I think because it's a seventh film or a reboot in the Paranormal Activity franchise, people are putting certain expectations onto it or certain negative expectations onto it. It's another fucking Paranormal Activity movie. But if you're a found footage fan... even if you're, I don't know, if you don't like the Paranormal Activity franchise, would this one work for you? Maybe. It's a little different. It definitely has a different feel to it. There's a bigger production value to it than the others. The other ones feel smaller scale in comparison to this one, especially in the end. So I could see maybe that working because there's a little bit more there than there is. Paranormal Activity is a little slower build. This one has a little bit more going on, and we actually really see stuff, and it's not because they've created some, camera that can see spirits.
The ghost mentioned?
No, this is straight up, you
like,
can see shit for sure. And that's cool, and there's some really eerie stuff. So yeah, as a Paranormal Activity fan, I am definitely pretty happy with this one. I like it as a standalone. I like that it did its own thing. I liked the direction. I liked the writing. I liked the acting. I liked it all. And I think I could, get as high as love on subsequent viewings. I think that it could work its way in. And as of right now, it's definitely better than Ghost Dimension. And it's probably better than 4 as well. So somewhere in that middle area, which is good for me because it's a franchise I really enjoy. I don't dislike any of them. So if it can fall somewhere in the middle of this franchise, I'm happy with that. If Spiral would have fallen somewhere in the middle of the Saw franchise, that would have been fucking plenty for me. That would have been great. But unfortunately, it's by far the lowest ranked for me. So that did not happen here. And this is a spin-off. This is the Spiral of the Paranormal Activity franchise, and a much better film for me that feels way more like the franchise that it's playing off of. So good stuff.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
I mean, I'm sure you've watched it by now if you're a Paranormal Activity fan. But if you're kind of on the fence, I definitely think it's. I definitely don't think it's going to win you over if you're not a found footage fan. Right? If you don't like that style, I just don't know how many found footage films are going to work for you. But this one does play with some things. It plays with a slow mo thing, and I think that there's enough new stuff here and enough familiar stuff here, but it is its own thing. So
Yes.
yeah, it's a cool one.
Very cool.
Yeah, I'm happy with it. I'm happy with it, and this was definitely one that I was a little nervous about. But when I saw who was on board directing and writing, pretty much all my fears went away. I was like, this will be good.
Yeah.
So
and it turned out very well. They were very successful. So
yeah.
yeah.
So anyways,
Check it out.
let us know if you watch it.
Bye.